history leads to strange situation, and we all admit that the Berlin Conference of 1884-85 has led to a fragmentation of Africa into, well, yes, nation states today which are artificial, which are not coherent. We have people of the same ethnic or linguistic origin on both sides of different borders in Africa, like we have them in Europe as well, you know. But at a certain moment, you have a historical heritage and you try to live with it. It's not the British and the French that colonized, which decided about Cameroon. It's the Germans. So it's a heritage not of Berlin, but it's a heritage of the First World War. After the First World War, Belgium inherited, kind of, sorry to say so, of Rwanda and Burundi. We got a piece of Germany, which we annexed to Belgium as well. Now, so we have a German-speaking minority in Belgium now as well, we have to deal with. These are historical accidents, and at a certain moment, okay, you live with it. And nobody can claim, you know, that you can't live together because you have had 2 generations of a different colonial experience. I mean, this is ridiculous, honestly speaking. So find a solution. Of course, you have different colonial traditions. You had the indirect rule and the British colonies, and you had a very centralized system in the Francophone colonies. Like in Europe as well, you have very centralized traditions, and you have more, you know, Belgium, historically speaking now, we are communalists. So we have the city-states, you know, emerged in the 13th, 14th, 15th century, and we have struggled for centuries against the centralizing power of France, of Germany, or whoever, and we have been the battlefield of Europe for ages. Now, at a certain moment, you have to turn the page, you know. And the strength of Europe today, and that's why I'm so proud of representing Europe today, is that 5 years after the last civil war, because the Second World War was an extension of an European civil war, which has gone on for ages. Now, 5 years after the end of the Second World War, some statesmen in Europe had the courage to say, we can't continue like that. We can't continue killing each other for supremacy in Europe. Let's rebuild Europe together. And my pledge is to all the reasonable people in the Northwest and Southwest and in Cameroon in general, and 99% of the people are reasonable and moderate people, is let you rebuild Cameroon together. And sit around the table. And there is no absolutely unsurmountable difference between common law and continental law. You can find solutions for everything. You know, ask Belgian constitutional experts to find solutions if you want. we can provide it, but it's not possible not to be able to live together. It's ridiculous. You know, the governor of Northwest, Mr. Lafrique, he comes from just beyond the border with the West region. He has family on both sides of the border. It's absolutely ridiculous to say this is a border which is unbridgeable and we can't live together anymore.
But the European Union can help us solve the problems.
No, I can't solve your problems. It's your problem. I mean, people are criticizing Europe for getting involved in African internal affairs. So stop asking us to solve your problems. These are your problems. We can accompany your solutions. Yes, we can accompany you, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing through humanitarian. That's what we are doing through political dialogue. We are encouraging everybody to speak to each other, because this is a country where people don't speak to each other. You know, I mean, there's a lot of talk, but listening to each other, listening to the concerns of each other, without being defensive as soon as someone starts criticizing something, building something together, that's something which people here do not really understand. So what we try to do with our EU model is to say, okay, fair enough, EU is a difficult animal. You know, we are 27 around the table, we have to compromise, it takes time, but we speak to each other. Sometimes overnight, until exhaustion, but we speak to each other and we find solutions. And the bottom line of the EU, the strength of the EU is that each time we are facing new challenges, you know, and the international environment, we discover and we realize that working together helps us overcome those challenges. And that's the same thing for Africa. I mean, you can't start fragmenting Africa even further. What you have to do is rebuild Africa, and that's why the continental integration process is so important now. The free trade area at continental level, the CEMAC integration, and so forth. We are encouraging all the integration processes. So if you are in that logic, I mean, fragmenting the existing countries doesn't make sense.
Excellency, Philipe, Vandame, what do you have to say to those who keep accusing the European Union? That is, some people have the school of thought that, of course, they are not saying that you should come and solve our problems, but you are in a position where you can help Africa solve their problems. I mean, because it should be a kind of win-win relationship. Some people are of the impression that probably in Cameroon, the interest of the European Union might not really be there that much. If not, if they were having interest in Cameroon, probably they would have rushed to solve the problem in Cameroon or to accompany the Cameroon government in solving the problem.
I'm sorry to say so, but I can't understand that reasoning anymore. People, and notably some of these Pan-Africanists today, are continually criticizing us for meddling in internal African affairs. And at the first problem, they knock at our doors to try to solve your problem. We, since quite some time now, we have decided that we shouldn't get involved unless asked by the regional authorities. So you have the African Union, you have the regional economic communities, ECOWAS in West Africa, CEMAC in Central Africa, CEAC for political problems in Central Africa and so forth. If these people indeed want to get involved in sorting out problems and knock at our door, we can consider accompanying African-led solutions, but we are not imposing our solutions anymore. This time is long past. So that's why you will see, we have EU forces involved in UN or in African Union-led peacekeeping missions in different parts of Africa. But these are not our missions. These are missions led by the UN, by the African Union, by regional communities who ask for assistance in the way they want to sort out their problems. That's logical. So it's up to you to speak first, and if there is a consensus around the table around some issues where we can help, we will be most grateful to help.
Excellency, you agree with me that the world has become a global village. Yes. Sometimes if you discover that there are leaders in Africa who don't want to help us solve our problems, you're not going to wait and then say, okay, let them fight and kill themselves because, of course, they should solve their problems. You can also come in, same as the crisis that is affecting the whole world, the Russian-Ukraine crisis. You saw that Africans send their leaders to try to discuss with Putin and discuss with the president of Ukraine to solve. The world has not become a place, it's no longer a place where, I mean, only a particular people should solve their problems.
I'm sorry to say so, but there's a huge difference between an aggressor, okay, an external aggressor, invading a democratic, independent, sovereign country, what happened in Ukraine, Russians invading Ukraine without any reason, and sorting out internal domestic problems. I mean, nobody asks us to intervene in any of the internal problems in the world. If consensually people think we can help, we can help. I take one concrete example. reconstruction in Northwest Southwest. There is a presidential reconstruction plan. I mean, fine. But as long as there is no sustainable peace, it's difficult to engage in something which has not been accepted by everybody, because this is not sustainable, you know. The difference between the reconstruction plan in Northwest Southwest and what they are now trying to do in the extreme north is that in extreme north the conflict is contained, yes, very much contained, and the violence is originating mainly from people of outside the country. But extreme north is extremely poor, has been destabilized, and now they are preparing a development plan for the extreme north. But that plan is being prepared in a very inclusive way, by consulting the people on the ground, by involving and giving leadership to the regional councils and the local authorities, so that the plan which will come out of that will be an inclusive plan around which everybody can adhere, so that it's much easier for the external partners to say, okay, we have a plan here which is consensual. Okay, we can find ways to support that plan. Again, on a burden sharing basis, because the first responsibility remains the government. And when we speak about responsibilities, that means also that the government has to go ahead in effective implementation of the decentralization process, because that's part of the conclusions of the initial political dialogue, which ended in the Grand National Dialogue of 2019. So the decentralization process, and in the case of Northwest Southwest, the special status, has to be given the concrete content and be effective, so that indeed part of the problems can be sorted out, and that those decentralized authorities can indeed build that required consensus on a sustainable basis, so that they can invite the external partners to come and accompany them.
But the external partners from external banks have been supporting the Cameroon government in the reconstruction process, when you agree with me that it is difficult to reconstruct when war is still going on.
Yes, but that you have to ask to other partners why they have joined, but there haven't been that many people joining that process, so I think that there is a broad consensus that you can't go ahead of the peace process. Of course, there is a kind of correlation which goes to both ways. Peace leads to prosperity, and prosperity may lead to peace. But to create prosperity, you need minimum consensus. That's why I'm saying we are working through humanitarian aid, but also at grassroots level, trying to restart the economy, but at community level, see to what extent, at least in the most pacified parts of the Northwest Southwest, indeed, we can indeed rebuild a little bit this social cohesion, which is necessary for large-scale reconstruction. If we see that it works, then we can gradually step up our support for the reconstruction, but it has to be done gradually, and it can go quicker than the peace and stabilization process itself.
Excellency Philipe Vandame, let's talk about a controversial issue. Some few minutes ago, you told me that it is not a good idea for Europeans to, put their hands or, to be involved in issues that concern Africans, because Africans should rise up and solve their problems. But it is not the same case when it comes to some controversial topics. We are talking about LGBTQ, which most of our people here in Africa look at, they know it more as homosexuality. So permit me use the word homosexuality so that they can understand. At the same time, you are saying that Africans should learn how to solve their problems because Europe does not want to get involved. But at the same time, we see Europe putting pressure on Africans to practice homosexuality, which is against our culture.
We are not putting pressure on anybody to practice homosexuality. That's ridiculous. I mean, being heterosexual or homosexual is not a choice. It's just a fact of life. And statistically, we know that everywhere in the world, including in Africa, 5 to 10% of men are homosexual. That's a fact of life. We are not promoting any way of living. The only thing we are saying consistently is that non-discrimination is a fundamental principle which is enshrined in your constitution. So apply your constitution and don't discriminate among people because of their religious background, because of their political beliefs, because of their sexual orientation. These does not concern anybody beyond yourself. So as long as you behave decently in society, what you do, and that's what the president himself has said at a certain moment, what you do in your bedroom is business for the bedroom, not for public opinion. So what we ask the only thing we ask is not to discriminate people on the basis of whatever background they have.
But we've seen lobby groups pushing in the background African leaders, like trying to divert them or trying to in a kind of condition them, towards implementing this homosexuality in Africa as against some favor.
No. We are not pushing anybody to implement homosexuality. I mean, think through what you're saying. This is absolutely ridiculous. We don't ask people to implement homosexuality. People are homosexual if they are homosexual. That's it. And people who are homosexual need a lot of courage to come out with their homosexuality, because homosexuality here is repressed like it was in Europe 3 generations ago. It was repressed in our countries as well. It was criminalized in UK until the 1970s. And the criminalization of homosexuality is something which was introduced in Africa by the colonial powers, because before colonialization there was a much larger tolerance towards homosexuality in Africa than we see today. So this is one of these numerous paradoxes of history, is that you're blaming Europe to promote something which we don't promote, blaming that we are importing something which was always there, and that we know what we are in favor of decriminalization, indeed. But decriminalization is not the same thing as promoting something, We are in favor of decriminalization of what was criminalized by us in the past, And so you're criticizing colonial rule, but when we want to undo colonial rule, you're criticizing us as well.
I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to grant this interview to My Media Prime Television.
You're most welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, viewers of My Media Prime Television, it is on that note that we draw the curtains for today's special interview. Our guest today was His Excellency Philipe Vandame. He is the outgoing head of delegation of the European Union in Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea. And of course, he was expressing his mind about issues concerning Cameroon and the continent of Africa. On behalf of the entire technical team of My Media Prime Television, I am Bo Elvis, thanking you for watching. Have a wonderful day. is His Excellency Philipe Vandame. He is the head of the European Union delegation to Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea. I was talking based on information gathered during the Commonwealth Africa's Speakers Conference. I spoke to at least 5 or 6 speakers of parliament across Africa who confided in me that there is a lobby network that is pushing them in the background to accept homosexuality, to promote this as a law in Africa.
No, there is a huge difference between accepting homosexuality on a non-discrimination basis and promoting homosexuality. That's the difference, which is fundamental. You know, people are what they are, okay? They believe X, Y, Z. They are what they are. Now, what we ask people is not to be discriminated because of what they are. We are not pushing anybody to take one philosophical belief rather than another. We are not pushing people for one religious option rather than another. We are just saying, okay, everybody. You know, I was interviewed by CRTV before leaving, and the final question, which was a provocation, was to say, well, before leaving, can we offer you a present? What about giving you a wife as a present? A second wife. And I answered honestly, you know, I'm grown up in a tradition where loyalty to your wife is a fundamental principle. I have been married happily with my wife for more than 40 years. I don't have any need and feeling for a second wife. But that doesn't prevent me to not judge and criminalize those who are polygamous in Africa. I mean, if that's a choice of people, okay, I'm still on talking terms with people who have a civil. That's a difference. No, I'm not promoting polygamy, but I'm not criminalizing either. You know, that's so you accept indeed the cultural choice of people as long as it is based on mutual consent among adults.
The problem in Africa, Your Excellency, is that some of these homosexuals, they carry placards, dress, try to cause a kind of public disorder. If they were doing their stuff in secret, I don't think there would have been a problem. But the thing is that they want to come out and say, we don't see somebody who is heterosexual come and say I'm heterosexual. They should remain in their bedroom rather than come out, carry placards and try to impose it as a way of...
If you're embracing your wife in public, you're showing your heterosexuality, okay, that doesn't harm anybody. So, you know, if two homosexuals want to embrace in public, does it harm fundamentally? I'm not so sure, but that's another debate. My point is, you have... If I had a sexual relation publicly in the streets in front of the presidency, it would be considered as indecent, you agree, and should violate decency laws. So you have decency laws in every country, but does that mean that you need to criminalize a specific sexual act which is conducted between consenting adults? Yes. That's the key criteria. That's why pedophily is something which is criminalized as well, because fundamentally you don't have consenting adults. You have a hierarchical relationship which is abusive, you know, and that's very often. So that's the basic principle. We don't want discriminating people for whatever they are. Now, and people very often quote, you know, religious considerations, biblical considerations of what, you know. Read the Genesis, first chapter. Man are created in the image of God. They don't say heterosexuals are created in the image of God. No, man in the sense of humanity is created in the image of God. That means that each human being is the creation of God and deserves respect and dignity. Each human being.
And later, the same Bible says that, and God looked and said, it was not good for a man to be alone. I need to make him a helper, whom I'm going to call the woman, to accompany the man. That is why here in Africa, people consider homosexuality as a crime against humanity, in the sense that if our forefathers practiced that, we wouldn't have been born.
Well, as I said, statistically speaking, it's a minority of people everywhere in the world which is homosexual, and they don't make that choice. Again, they don't choose for it, because you should be stupid in such a hostile environment to choose for this type of sexual orientation. You are what you are, and some people have the courage to come out of it because they can't continue living with the repression of their fundamental feelings. So yes,
Attention viewers, get ready for an ABS TV experience that will keep you informed, engaged, and at the forefront of current events. ABS TV is about to start bringing you breaking news, insightful analysis, and captivating stories. We are proud to announce the grand premiere on September 15th with I, Stephanie Martinez, your host. From the heart of our newsroom to the comfort of your living room, we bring you the most accurate, comprehensive, and up-to-the-minute news coverage from around the globe. Whether it's politics, health, technology, entertainment, or sports, ABS TV has you covered. But that's not all. ABS News will go beyond the headlines, diving deep into the stories that shape our world. From in-depth investigative reports to thought-provoking documentaries, our commitment to journalism and excellence knows no bounds. So mark your calendars, set your reminders, and get ready to be a part of history. ABS News premieres on September 15th, and we invite you to tune in and join us for this incredible journey. And please don't forget to catch up on ABS TV on Roku TV, Satellite TV in Africa, YouTube Live, and Twitter. So sign up today.
Humanity prospered because 95% of the people indeed are heterosexual and reproduce in a natural way. But that's not the point, you know. The point is that we are all human beings, and we all deserve our minimal dignity, and dignity is based on non-discrimination. Just like women indeed have equal rights as men, regardless of whatever opinion you can have, because we are human people. That's like why we also defend the rights of the handicapped people, of minorities, of indigenous people. Everybody has the same rights, whatever their background.
Excellency Philipe Vandame, we will not leave you with that without talking about this aspect of school boycott in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. What do you think about this phenomenon of school boycott?
Well, I have made my opinion very clear through the social media at several occasions. I find it simply outrageous, really a scandal. How can people claim they're speaking on behalf of the people of the Northwest, Southwest, and at the same time sacrifice the future of the kids of the people of those regions? I find it absolutely scandalous and honestly also a hypocrite, because these people in the diaspora, they can send their kids to school and sacrifice the people on the altar of whatever you claim, and pretend to represent these people is absolutely unacceptable, and having maintained that throughout the years is absolutely ununderstandable, and it's not only that, you know, it's the school boycott, it's you know, killing of innocent people, it's the harassing of young girls trying to go to school, and you have seen some of these videos circulating, which are honestly awful, where they force people to undress and so forth. I mean, what happens is beyond what is understandable. These are honestly violations of fundamental human rights and crimes against humanity, honestly.
Excellency, do you think the insecurity in the northwest and southwest can really permit an effective back to school?
If those people who fight for whatever political agenda have the courage to formally lift the school boycott, okay? Then you're only left with the criminals, because indeed we all know that, of course, this conflict, and like all conflicts, when they take too much time, they tend to move into economies of war economies, where a lot of people benefit from the situation on the ground, and you have a criminalization of the situation on the ground. But the criminals on the ground, they don't have any interest in maintaining the school boycott. They have interest maybe in hijacking people and ransoming people and at roadblocks and organizing all kinds of traffics. But they don't have an interest in school boycott. So if there is a call by those so-called leaders to lift the school boycott, schools will be open from one day to the other, and these will change the dynamics on the ground.
And Excellency, talking about, of course, you've spoken against school boycott, but maybe can we say this has somehow contributed to, has this in any way caused the separatist movements to lose credibility in the eyes of the international community and the diplomatic community? But
as soon as you try to pursue political goals through violence and undemocratic means, you lose credibility anyway. But this is, of course, an additional layer which indeed leads to total loss of respect for those who call for and maintain this school boycott for years now. You have a whole generation of young people who have been prevented to go to school. I'm a father of 5 kids. The people in Northwest, Southwest are all parents of children. These people in diaspora are parents of children. How can they dare to look into the mirror and continue this school boycott? It's beyond my understanding.
And we end by saying that probably this would have been a chance for the international community to accompany, apart from looking at the humanitarian situation, when we take a look at the number of kids that are not going to school, I think the international community should have put more effort on helping the children go back to school by accompanying the Cameroon government in the resolution of the conflict, rather than focus on humanitarian, because humanitarian efforts, they could last for so many years and the problem will continue.
I'm not in a blaming exercise. Everybody could have done more, I guess. We have done a lot, because also through humanitarian aid and through UN agencies and others, we have tried to maintain a minimum of schooling through private schooling, distance schooling, and during the COVID, but also virtual schooling. IDPs, we have tried to give them a chance to go to school. We have tried to do things. I have always been from the start of my era, I've been extremely clear about my opinion on that. Religious leaders have spoken out, maybe they could have been more outspoken as well, I don't know. Everybody has a share of responsibility here, but the main responsibility remains, of course, with those who called for the school boycott. And again, I don't understand how people can follow these so-called leaders who takes.
ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricativ@gmail.com.
Attention viewers, get ready for an ABS TV experience that will keep you informed, engaged, and at the forefront of current events. ABS TV is about to start bringing you breaking news, insightful analysis, and captivating stories. We are proud to announce the grand premiere on September 15th with I, Stephanie Martinez, your host. From the heart of our newsroom to the comfort of your living room, we bring you the most accurate, comprehensive, and up-to-the-minute news coverage from around the globe. Whether it's politics, health, technology, entertainment, or sports, ABS TV has you covered. But that's not all. ABS News will go beyond the headlines, diving deep into the stories that shape our world. From in-depth investigative reports to thought-provoking documentaries, our commitment to journalism and excellence knows no bounds. So mark your calendars, set your reminders, and get ready to be a part of history. ABS News premieres on September 15th, and we invite you to tune in and join us for this incredible journey. And please don't forget to catch up on ABS TV on Roku TV, satellite TV in Africa, YouTube Live, and Twitter. So sign up today.
Such positions.
And what is the responsibility of the government in the school boycott, in the sense that do you think that the government can do something more? I mean, the government should look at this school boycott and try to solve the problem.
Well, everybody tries to solve problems, and of course one of the initial revendications in 2016 was precisely indeed the way the schooling was organized. I think with the setting up of the National Commission for Bilingualism and Multiculturalism, there are efforts being made, both in the judiciary as in the school system, indeed, to respect the specificities and to indeed guarantee quality schooling in English, taking into account some specificities. Has enough been done? I don't know. But indeed, these are sensitive issues. You know, I'm referring back to Belgium. As I said, I'm Dutch speaking in origin. Flanders was minorized during the whole 19th century by the Francophone elite, and there was a nationalist movement emerging in the second half of the 19th century, and the start of that nationalist movement was schooling and the judiciary, the same revendications as the Northwest Southwest today. Because my grandfather, when he dared to speak Dutch in school, was sanctioned. You know, there was no teaching in Dutch authorized, and I'm speaking about just before the First World War. So yes, there were revendications. I think a lot of people and within government admit.
We are also concerned, you've spoken about some atrocities carried out by the separatists, but at the same time, I'm sure too that the international community and European Union too is aware too that government forces have been carrying out atrocities. Have you also been putting an eye on that?
Yes, absolutely. I think atrocities done on whatever side have to be condemned and have to be followed up, and impunity has to be fought. So we, during our political dialogue with the government, we raise those issues regularly, and one of the themes we have discussed with the Minister of Defense as well is indeed how to improve the judiciary follow-up of these type of incidents. You know, in any conflict you have this type of excess. You have seen it also even during the strikes in France, that police sometimes overreacts and things happen which should never happen. But you must build in a system of follow-up which may lead to sanctions against those who behaved in an inappropriate way, excessive violence, sometimes targeted violence on purpose, sometimes, we have seen it, and these people need to be sanctioned. And my feeling is, and I have said that several times already, is that the government has to communicate on these issues much more than they have been doing in the past. Things have slightly improved over the last couple of years, I have the impression, because sometimes they spontaneously acknowledge errors of behavior. But what is still missing, in my view, is the follow-up of these acknowledgements. Have people been prosecuted before the military tribunals? Have they been sanctioned? Because again, it's not enough to acknowledge errors. You also need to show that impunity is not tolerated and that people are sanctioned. And that feeds trust in the system. So I think, yes, we have, I think, highlighted these regularly.
How concerned is the European Union with regards to human rights abuses in Cameroon, especially the killing of journalists who expose embezzlement in unclear budgetary lines?
Well, I have been expressing my concerns at different occasions, I think, also through social media. I think there is nothing worse, I'm speaking in general, of impunity. Impunity undermines the rule of law and ultimately democracy. And we have seen over the last couple of years, since I have arrived, numerous scandals, large-scale scandals, you know, which have been exposed. We have seen other abuses as well, including in the context of the conflicts. If those scandals are not addressed in a convincing way by an independent judiciary, people lose faith in the political class, lose faith in society overall. You know, I was in Guinea-Conakry, as I said, in the early 2010s. They had passed through 2 generations of alienation. You had the dirigist alienation of Sékou Touré. Everything was top-down imposed. And then you had the free-for-all type of liberalization of Conté, where everybody could scramble and try to get rich. But the people could no longer identify with the state. Yeah? You know, it was a real disconnect between the people and the state. So people no longer felt responsible for the state. So petty corruption was generalized as well, not only within the elites, but also petty, because people said, who cares? I mean, I don't feel any responsibility for the state. So rebuilding that connection between the people and the state is fundamental for sustainable development. And this is very difficult, and it starts with education at school, but also within the family, within the communities. That's why I started by putting the emphasis on rebuilding social cohesion and what they call in France le vivre ensemble, you know, the living together, the Ubuntu, to use the South African concept, is so important because that's the only way to rebuild society. And I'm struck in this country that civic education is very weak, that teaching of history is very weak. You know, this is a young state, independent in 1960. And as you said, initially within artificial boundaries, borders. So nation building is something very important. Now, how do you build a nation? How did Belgium build a nation in the 19th century? By developing a common history and by teaching that common history. That doesn't mean that everybody had the same experiences. We had different dynamics within history, but being able to design a common history, including post-independence history, is extremely important for nation building, to make people realize, yes, we can live together, and living together gives us an added value. You know, the slogan of the European Union is unity in diversity. It's the same thing in Cameroon, unity in diversity. This diversity is a richness, so take advantage of that richness, but it has to be taught, you know, it has to be passed through cultural and educational transmission. You have to be convinced of that. I opened an exhibition in Chang at the Museum for Civilization about the independences, plural, because there are different readings of how independence happened in Cameroon, and Cameroon, as we know, is one of those countries in Africa where independence was a very violent process. But it's important that people are capable today, finally, to discuss openly about these independence. And people have different readings of it, but that's not important. The important thing is that we can start speaking about your independence and that people can reflect on that and realize that, yes, okay, there is a kind of togetherness nevertheless among us, and we have to build on that togetherness in our diversity.
His Excellency Philipe Vandame, we are at the end of the program, and of course we want to know, you're leaving Cameroon. Where are you going to?
I'm retiring, and I'm Belgian. I'm returning to Belgium. As I said earlier on, I'm a communalist, so I'm originating from a lovely medieval city which is called Bruges. I'm going back to Bruges and find my family, my kids, my grandchildren. The aid is on its way, so I'm looking forward.
We want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to grant this interview to My Media Prime Television. And of course, we hope that you will come to Cameroon from time to time, and we'll also come and visit you in Belgium too from time to time.
You're most welcome.
ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricatv@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricatv@gmail.com.
Attention viewers, get ready for an ABS TV experience that will keep you informed, engaged, and at the forefront of current events. ABS TV is about to start bringing you breaking news, insightful analysis, and captivating stories. We are proud to announce the grand premiere on September 15th with I, Stephanie Martinez, your host. From the heart of our newsroom to the comfort of your living room, we bring you the most accurate, comprehensive, and up-to-the-minute news coverage from around the globe. Whether it's politics, health, technology, entertainment, or sports, ABS TV has you covered. But that's not all. ABS News will go beyond the headlines, diving deep into the stories that shape our world. From in-depth investigative reports to thought-provoking documentaries, our commitment to journalism and excellence knows no bounds. So mark your calendars, set your reminders, and get ready to be a part of history. ABS News premieres on September 15th, and we invite you to tune in and join us for this incredible journey. And please don't forget to catch up on ABS TV on Roku TV, Satellite TV in Africa, YouTube Live, and Twitter. So sign up today.